My number one tip for having great classroom management. Hey teacher friends, welcome to Sutton Teaches Secondary. I am Miss Sutton, but you can call me MarQuitta, and we are talking about something that every teacher, old teacher, new teacher, veteran teacher, first year teacher, everyone is always concerned and wanting to be great at managing their classroom. So let's talk about it, y'all. I feel like there is no foolproof way to make sure that you will have the best year ever when it comes to managing behaviors or being good with being able to handle the behaviors in your classroom. But there are some things that you can do to make your life a little easier. So we're not gonna waste time. My number one tip for having a great classroom community is consistency. Now, you might be like, I am consistent. I'm doing what I said I would do. Now here, let me break it down for you, and we'll go through and we'll talk about what steps go into being consistent. First thing first, you gotta have classroom expectations. Now, I call them expectations because I teach older students. I feel like that is more appropriate for seniors in high school, which is what I teach. I also feel like expectations relates more to having a classroom community versus saying rules. So, I like to make sure that I have very simple rules or expectations for students. I only have 3 because that way they're easy to remember, and they are pretty broad. They are all encompassing. So that way I'm not trying to remember a bunch of expectations and my students are not remembering a bunch of expectations. So here they are, and if you want to steal them, feel free. The first expectation is that you follow directions the first time they are given. Second expectation is that you respect yourself and your peers and any other people in the room. And then the third expectation is that you give your best every day. Now, I feel like those are simple. They are things that encompass all of the scenarios that I usually run into with students. And that way it can always relate back to this was an expectation. So now, because my first rule is follow directions the first time they are given, that means that my second thing must be true. I am very clear in the expectations and the directions for students all throughout the day. So if you want students to follow your expectations or really follow along and have great behavior, you have to make it clear to them what you want. And so number 2, you want to make sure you are giving clear directions. And when you give clear directions consistently, then students are used to following them. They know what to expect for different times of the day, different activities, so on and so forth. And so when I tell you that I literally give directions and expectations for everything, especially in the beginning of the year, we go through this regularly. I explain, this is what I need. I explain, this is what you should have out. This is what you should be doing. You should sound like this. You should or should not be talking to your partner. You should or should have your cell phone out, right? All of those things are very clear and consistent every time. Every time we start something new, I make sure to give directions. I am consistent with that. Third thing you want to make sure you do is that you follow through, right? You stay consistent. So if someone is not meeting an expectation, it's important for you to address it. Now you're not attacking your students and not like, oh my gosh, why didn't you do that? Right? Like, we talk to them with love. We correct with love. We give the gentle reminders and then the more stern reminders, and we go through all of those things that many people often talk about, but it is consistent. And students will notice if you are not consistent. So if the expectation is that at this time, cell phones are away, because cell phones, need I say more? If the expectation is that cell phones should be put away and you tell this student to put away their cell phone, but you don't tell that student, then that student is going to be very upset, and rightfully so, right? You want to make sure that you are consistent, and that also means with yourself, and that sometimes is the hardest discipline. So when I say we are not using cell phones right now, that also includes me, because I'm a part of the classroom community. And of course, there are exceptions to the rule, like, emergencies and things like that, and we explain, like, students understand that if an emergency arises within them, or I have a child, so if an emergency for me, things like that. But as a general expectation, if phones are away, phones are away. Like for the community right now, phones are away. And students really respect that. Same thing with language. If the expectation is that we are not using foul language in the classroom, then I'm not using it, you're not using it, we are not using it. The last thing, I think this is the last thing that I think relates to consistency that really helps with behaviors and managing those things in the classroom, is having a consistent schedule. So every day when students walk in, they get greeted at the door by me. Every day, the first thing students do is take out all of their materials. I have something listed on the board that says, this is what you're expected to have out. And then every day we start with our warm-up. I don't call it a warm-up. I call it writing into the day, because it's an English class. And then we go from there. And consistently, the same things happen almost every day. And so because we have a daily routine, and then because I am consistently explaining or giving clear directions on what the behavior is for each part of the routine, it becomes routine for students to behave in the manner that is expected of them. And so then it becomes easier for everyone. Students know what they're supposed to do. You are clear about what you expect of students. Everyone is happy. So I hope that helped. Tell me in the comments, what are you using in your classroom? What works? What are some things that you do to help ensure that you are having a great classroom community? Also, if you made it this far, why have you not liked the video? Why have you not subscribed? Come on, teacher friend, you know what to do. Hit that like button below, hit that subscribe button, and as always, you are amazing. Bye.